Hey everybody, and welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about drone filter. Firstly, what they are and why they're so important for anybody that's doing drone photography and videography. Let's just roll the intro and get right into this. First things first, what are ND filters? These are the ND filters I have for my drone. You have ND, I have an ND4, ND8, ND16, a CPL, and a UV filter. So ND stands for neutral density filter, and what that basically lets you do is either double or lower your shutter speed to achieve certain shots. So one good example is if you're taking a photo of a waterfall and you want to capture that kind of like slow, silky image, you have to lower your shutter speed. But because you're doing this during the daylight, you're going to get much more light coming in. So what you do is you put an ND filter on it. So this way it lets you lower your shutter speed and get that perfect photo because that filter is blocking out a certain amount of light that's coming in. And that's where the stops comes in from ND2, ND4, and so on. So for the filters, they come in different strengths and stops. It goes from ND2 all the way to ND 100,000. And so that 100,000 is used for solar eclipse, especially if you're doing solar eclipse, you really want to protect your lens and you're looking directly in the sun. So you really need a strong ND filter. But there's a problem. When do you know when to use a certain filter? When do you know to use an ND8 compared to an ND16 or an ND32 compared to an ND64 and so on like that? Especially for drone photography and videography, it gets a bit more tricky because you fly it up, you see it's wrong, you have to fly it down, try a new one, and so on. It wastes time and battery. So personally for me, I looked at the sun, see where it is, the strength, and if I was facing to the sun, away from the sun, and I used a lot of other things in my mind to see, hey, maybe I should use the ND8 or ND16 or ND32. Not anymore. Because now there's this new app, and it's by Pro Filters, and this basically calculates the ND filters for you and which ones you have and which one you should use. And that's what today's tutorial is about: showing the app and how to best use it and how to know which ND filter to use to save you time, and you look much more professional when you're with clients. So let's jump into the app. First things first, this app has the best loading screen that I've seen in any other apps. It's beautiful. So when you get into the app, you're greeted by your filter guide on top, you have a location tab, and of course Polo Pro just promoting themselves. So first things first, we're gonna add a location and where I am. So I'm in Ubud right now. Just add that. And that will populate and give you 4 little dashboards. One is the sun, so this is how long I have left till sunset. And then if I go into it, I can see more about it. So there's 2 hours and 55 minutes till sunset starts. And then sunset will last for 29 minutes and finish at 6:45 p.m. And it gives you the next sunrise and how long sunrise will last. So let's go. And next is weather. Simple, it just shows you the weather and how it is. Instead of having to go out of the app, it's now inside the app, which is really cool. So KP, this is a good one. So what KP is about, it's showing you the index of the electromagnetic waves around the area and letting you know on a number how much of a risk you have if flying it. Will you lose signal of your drone? Maybe because there's a lot of cell towers around, construction happening. I don't know how it collects this data, but I'll be interested to see how it actually does that. And last one, which I really like, is the wind. It's telling me 10 kilometers per hour wind, where it's coming from the west, and it gives me Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday wind speeds, and it also gives me the wind speeds every hour. Oh look, I can see at 7 p.m. the wind speeds are going to go down. Maybe that's a better time to fly. So that's the dashboard, and that's what I really like about it. It shows you kind of the most important information you need when you're flying your drone right away. Maybe I want to take it off tomorrow, and I open the app and it says 20 kilometers per hour winds. I'm like, okay, it's not that safe. Instead of having to fly up and get the warning on my controller, I can know right in here. So now we're going to calculate the ND filter. So now we're going to jump into figuring out the ND filter and adding it into the app. So first things first, you have to select which drone you have. So I have a DJI Mavic, and then I can select my filters that I have. I already pre-selected them, so I have the UV, the CP, the ND4, the ND8, and the ND16. So now this is where you kind of calculate what you're going to be shooting, how many frames, and the shutter speed you would like to shoot at. So if we start at 24, and if you follow the double one, you'll get to 150. Basically what that does is shows right now at this frame rate and shutter speed, I don't need to put on an ND filter on it. But now if I want to kind of bump up, so let's say I want to go to 1/100, I'll need to put on my CP lens. And if we keep going, 1/200, I'll need to put on my ND4, and so on, ND8. So that's 24, 1/400, I need to put my ND8 on. Let's say we want to bump up the speeds, slow motion, 120. And as you see, because you're going at a 120 frames per second, your shutter speed will have to be a bit higher until you start seeing you need to put on a filter. So at 1/800, I need to put on my CP. At 1/1000, my ND4, until 1/2000, where I put my ND8. So this is what the app is. It's basically a full-fledged dashboard for you to know how to properly fly your drone, how to properly record in certain conditions, but also when to properly fly it. I always, when I need to know when sunrise and sunset is, I have to look at my Apple Watch, and then for wind, I have to go into the weather app, and then for sun, into a whole different app. But now I have it all in one, which is really good. And next is the ND filter. This has saved me numerous times. One, sometimes I'll be with a client, and I want to look professional. So instead of putting on an ND16, maybe I had to put on an ND32. But I flew it up, and then I saw I'm wrong, so I have to lower it. And sometimes that doesn't look professional. But now you do. And that's what's really good about it. So this is kind of the end of the tutorial. This is not a tutorial of what exactly ND filters are. I'll love to create one of those in a later video talking about ND filters for camera and also for drones. But what this tutorial is about is just showing the Polar Pro app and what it can do and why it's so useful to you. And lastly, we have a winner for our contest. I was giving away a DJI Mavic Pro Platinum, and we have a winner. Let me just look up that name right now. Yes. And the winner is Annie B. So I'll be sending you an email just to get your shipping address and to send you the drone right away. I know DJI is now announcing their new drone, so hopefully the Platinum is still good. But yeah, have fun with it. Send me shots you do and what you end up doing with it. As always, thanks for watching. And this is kind of like one of my first trying to do in-depth tutorial videos. Let me know your comments. If it was good, maybe you are just even now more confused of what ND filters are, because I probably didn't explain stuff. Did the way I introduced the Polar app, was it good? Or anything else, good or bad? I'm looking to improve, to keep on creating these type of videos and kind of share my knowledge and knowledge that I'm learning as well with everybody. So thank you for watching, and as always, stay savvy.